Before we get to the topic of this video, the product of which I do not like, I make no secret of that, I want to say one thing regarding product reviews to kind of a general sense. If the reviewers themselves are not pointing out negatives, if all you hear are just positive attributes and why you should buy something and how you should always check out their links because yeah, you can buy them and give them money because you're buying products that they're telling you are really good that end up not really being that great in the long run, then those reviewers have problems and I don't recommend you watch them. I'm gonna be straight up with you. I'm not looking to impress companies by only pointing out positives so that they'll send more products to review later and I can just have a whole stash of things that I ultimately don't need and probably won't use but more than one time, and then they'll sit and collect dust. By this point, if I want a product, for the most part, I can ask the company in question and usually get a response, if not the product. So there's no reason for me to hide behind just positivity. That doesn't serve me any long-term purpose, and if you guys thought that that's what I was doing, then I wouldn't be a viable reviewer and I would lose all of you, which I obviously don't want to do. So when I get a product like this in the studio, I have to be completely honest with you. I hate this case. There are more things in this case that I would change than keep, and there are also things I would just outright take away. They shouldn't be here, period. This is a mid-sized tower, by the way, not a full-size tower, so you'll only find 7 slots at the rear, though looks can be deceiving. And that's the first thing you'll notice when you pull this out of its box. I thought I was getting a mid-sized tower, somewhere along the lines of an NZXT S340 or Fantex P400. In my opinion, those are perfectly sized mid-tower cases that don't compromise very much on cable management and just dead space. You don't want a lot of empty space in a mid-tower case. But this case, even though it is modular, we'll get to those things in a second, is much larger than some of the ATX full-size towers that I've owned in the past. I would take probably about 1.5 inches off the width of this case and then probably another 3 inches off the height. Then we'd be in mid-sized tower territory. But right now, yeah, this is one heavy, large, unnecessarily large case. I'm just not gonna do this anymore. I'm gonna keep it on the floor. One of the reasons why this case is so unnecessarily tall is because both the top and bottom have these strange aluminum grill covers that serve no functional purpose. BitFenix says that these are intended to give the case more structural rigidity and on top of that keep dust out, but I can guarantee you dust is not going to worry about these panels. They're going to slide right through the insides. Look, they're literally hollow all the way through, so they should just be taken off. Period. The back also has about 1 inch of unnecessary space. It just kind of sticks out from the rest of the chassis. Again, this whole design is just confusing to me. It's unnecessarily large, and things like this are what make it that way. BitFenix has included 3 stock fans with the Shogun though, so I mean I can't complain there. 3 fans is pretty good for a case, although these fans are not going to be super good. They're case fans, what do you expect? But the fact that there are 3 there, that's decent. At least they didn't cheap out on that side. Now despite only having 7 PCIe slots, this is actually a decent case for water cooling. You can fit up to a 360mm radiator up top, a 280 in the front, and a 140 at the rear. But you'll find a few strange quirks along the way, particularly if you are custom cooling. The first of those being the weird semi-basement shroud cover thing in the front that houses 2 SSDs. A unique feature of this case is its integrated RGB lighting system, get this, in the SSD trays on that front panel. That's why that front panel is there, to show off those SSDs. But let me say something else. There's a reason why no one has done this until now, and there's also a reason why I expect we won't be seeing this again anytime soon. I mean, who gets their sick kicks off of lighting up their SSDs? I get it if it matches the theme, if it's like a blue and black SSD and you got a blue and black theme going on inside, okay, cool. But lighting it up red or green, and most SSDs look frankly ugly. Most of the stickers on the front aren't inviting, and if there's no sticker, it's just got a logo or something. Who really cares to see that? Who wants to see that lit up? I'd rather see these LEDs utilized elsewhere in the case, maybe just integrated RGB lighting for the entire chassis. That would be something that'd make this case, I don't know, just give it a little more flair. Now back to the whole bit about modularity. This case, when it came shipped in the box, had a bunch of SSD trays, hard drive trays, all stacked on top of each other on the far right side of the case. That's normal. The cool thing about the case is that you can remove those and replace it with just a clean panel in the front if you want some space for extra water cooling. But I will say that other companies have done this better, including Be Quiet, their Darkbase Pro 900, which I reviewed right here. Although I wasn't fond of it just personally because it was such a large case, does have better modularity modular support. It took forever to get that front flat panel in the BitFenix Shogun. And on top of that, if this case feels a bit incomplete to you, it might be because there is no top basement cover. I'm not sure why BitFenix stopped halfway with the front SSD mounting system, whatever you want to call it, but I do not like having to see all of those cables from my power supply just kind of laying around there on the inside. Like, why didn't you just finish it off? That's me. I like seeing basements, especially in mid-tower cases where cable management is king for the most part. Not having a basement cover here kind of defeats the purpose of having a basement front panel at all. What else to talk about? Oh, check this out. Okay, so you can actually turn this case into sort of like a drum. You ready for this? You see what I mean? It's not that the build quality isn't decent. I do like the fact that they went with an all aluminum chassis, but the way that they structured the whole thing just makes it seem cheap because it's so hollow and it just feels so, I don't know, just unnecessarily metallic. I mean, just listen to the way the power button sounds. But there are a few other weird quirks as well. Now, this is a tempered glass left and right panel case. I get it for the left side. That's understandable. You want to see what's on the inside, especially if you're able to make it look semi-decent inside the Shogun. But on the right side, and I've always had a problem with this, right side tempered glass panels really don't make much sense at all unless you're just like a cable management god, and even then, who wants to see cables if you even get the chance to see them on the right side? Now, BitFenix took a weird approach here. Instead of making the right glass panel see-through, they've actually tinted it like 100%. You cannot see through the glass, period. It is still glass for some reason. I guess it just makes you feel better inside knowing that you have glass on both sides. I don't know, but you can't see through it, so if that was what you were going for on the right side panel, you don't have it here. Now, I do appreciate the Velcro straps. Those are nice. I also like the rubber grounded cutouts. Those are also nice. Most cheap cases don't include those rubber grommets, so it's good to see those in there. But there is something about the cable management that just doesn't work here. I think it's because there are these random cables that are stretching from the back side of the case up to those LED chargers in the front where the SSDs go. Like, literally, these cables are just sprawled across the basement floor running directly into these SSD trays. Like, they couldn't have routed the cables themselves around the case or integrated them into all this extra space that you have to make it look a bit more pretty in the front, or even where your power supply would go. Because remember, you can see straight through the thing because there is no roof. How much are they even asking for this case? Holy shit. Okay, so it looks like about $150 on Amazon. I wouldn't frankly pay half that. Oh, and by the way, you see this door here on the front of the BitFenix Shogun? So this, I thought, was an optical drive bay door. I thought you could just put, like CD drive there. So I had to look this up because I thought I was going crazy. Apparently there is zero 5.1/4 drive support. Absolutely none, which means that door is purely aesthetic. For whatever reason, if you want it to look like you can put a CD drive there, but you can't, well, that's what the BitFenix Shogun offers you. I'm actually curious at this point to read some of the other customer reviews. Let's see what they thought. Let's see. This 1-star review here. Horrible case. Cable routing is ridiculous. I/O wires are not long enough for some motherboards. It's beauty on the outside, but ugly on the inside. About 5,000 thumb screws inside that were tightened. Yeah, that's true. There were actually tons of thumb screws that I had to remove in order to get rid of those hard drive trays that were in there to begin with. The wires that you have to unplug and plug to use are not worth the headache, not to mention the thumb screws to tighten it down on the front and back. The wires in the bottom of the case looked like a rat's nest. Thank you. A full PSU shroud could have helped hide them. Again, thank you. Yeah, let's try Newegg. Great case, wide open, looks amazing. Cons. The case lacks a filter on the bottom side of the front panel, so dust can easily be sucked in. There is not a top cover for the PSU section to hide some cabling. Okay, that seems to be a pretty big concern, BitFenix. So that's all I've got to say about the BitFenix Shogun. I am clearly not a fan. Now, I understand this is a matter of personal opinion. You may end up loving the case, have at it, spend your $150 and have a blast building in there. It's just not something I would personally buy. It's way too big for a mid-tower case. There is no basement cover, which looks tacky. I think that the SSD LEDs look tacky. I just don't like it. Period. It's just not my kind of case. If, however, you do appreciate the honesty, which, I'll be frank, was a bit brutal, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything for you. If I don't like it, I just don't like it. Then give this video a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs down if you hate everything about life or you just didn't like the video for whatever reason. Be sure to click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video where I review a beautiful, it fooled me, I thought it was white, but it's a silver motherboard from Gigabyte. This is Science Studio. Thanks for learning with us.